Temperatures rising, a heat emergency now in place in Washington, D.C. We're talking with the Chief of Staff of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency right now.
Thanks for joining us here at Weather Nation. You know, we've been talking a lot about summertime thunderstorms. Now we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk about some summertime heat.
Phew, it's getting hot. And parts of the Northeast that have really missed out on some of the worst of the summer heat thus far, now really cranking it up.
It's a cooker, and we're going to go to Washington, D.C. But look at this. Temperature is well into the 90s.
Yeah, 91 degrees. It feels like 97. So now what happens anytime the temperature or the feels like temperature gets above 95, the District of Columbia will actually implement a heat emergency plan. With more on that, joining us on the phone, we have Chief of Staff of the Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency. We're talking with Brian Baker. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
And can you talk a little bit about what constitutes a heat emergency and the plan behind it?
Absolutely. So this is any time where we have a situation where the heat index reaches above 95 degrees, which we consider very serious situations and want to make sure that residents are well informed, and we take special considerations to make sure that we take appropriate actions for our vulnerable populations.
All right, Brian, Mike Morrison here. What are some of the actions that you're taking? Cooling centers, explain some of the actions that are in place.
Absolutely. Well, we've opened up cooling centers all across the districts in all of our wards. These include government buildings, municipal buildings, recreational centers, libraries. We've also encouraged people to go to our indoor and outdoor swimming pools and spray parks around the city, as well as our libraries.
Why is it so important to have these plans in place ahead of time?
Well, when you get heat at this level, it can be very, very dangerous, even for the regular populations. And making sure that we have these things in place and people are well educated and know where to get information is extremely important, because a lot of times with the summer heat comes summer storm and possible power outages. And we want to make sure that people know where to go, and we have appropriate government staff at these buildings to accommodate people that might need assistance.
Brian, how many times during the summertime will you see this kind of an event?
Well, it obviously varies from summer to summer. Last summer, we didn't see as many extreme conditions. It was turned on a handful of times. But we have seen summers where we have gone full weeks where every day has been a heat emergency.
And Washington, D.C., a well-traveled location. Is this a good plan to have in place for people who may be coming from outside of Washington, D.C.?
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing we recommend to our tourist populations, which we have a lot of, especially this week following July 4th, is trying to limit as much activities during the day that are actually outside. It's a great time to go into the museums and take a look and do some of those indoor activities. Really between the times of 10 and 3 o'clock, it's not a good idea to be outside for extended periods of time.
Right.
Brian Baker of the Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency in the District of Columbia, thank you so much for talking with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, and it's not just D.C. We're also talking New York City, Philadelphia, all along the 95 corridor, really under the heat. New York City, here we are taking a look, and you can see the skyline. Man, that never gets old. Well, unfortunately, they're at 90 degrees. Wow. It feels like 93. People in New York City, you know, it's a heat island, no doubt. This will really soak up that heat. And so that's why we are talking some heat advisories through that location. As those temperatures continue to climb, we're talking Thursday through Friday into the 90s. Then Friday, we're at about 86. It does look like it starts to cool down as those storms actually build into the region. Here we are looking at those heat advisories like we were talking about. Heat advisory into New York, Philadelphia, Trenton, Wilmington, Delaware under an excessive heat warning. And we're looking at through today and even in some areas all the way through Friday. Heat indices, despite what that temperature is, it's going to feel more like it's in the triple digits. Don't forget, once we talk hot and sunny conditions, we can also see bad air quality. Air quality alerts for big locations, Boston, Hartford, New York, Philadelphia, all the way back into Washington, D.C. Stay safe. We'll keep you updated on that severe weather coming up in just a bit.